started? Okay. So lung 1 starts in the belly of the pec muscle of the chest, between the sternum and the first rib. Curves laterally, coming down the medial side at the front, or cranial medial side. You're aiming for the bottom of the chestnut, which is right here. Slightly cranial to that is going to be lung 7. We're continuing down to lung 9 in the transverse crease of the carpus, which is easier to find if you pick up the leg. Then we're continuing down the back side of the medial part of the leg to lung 11, which is the Jingwell point, 1/3 forward from the heel bulb. We then move over to large intestine 1, 1/3 forward from that, not quite at the front because that's pericardium, or sorry, triple heater. Then we're coming up below the carpus between the cannon bone and the medial splint bone is large intestine 4. It then crosses over the wrist or carpus to the lateral side. Coming up, we're aiming for large intestine 11, which is a really good allergy point. Then we're moving forward to the point of the shoulder, which is large intestine 15. Coming up the lateral side of the neck, below all our cervical vertebrae, aiming for the edge of the jaw here. Coming down, thank you, to large intestine 20 at the lateral side of the nostril.
So we have stomach 1 here underneath the eye. We're moving down to the bifurcation of the vein at stomach 2. Then we're aiming for the corner of the mouth, that's stomach 4. So we're going to come down here to 4. We're then following the curve of the jaw upward towards the eyebrow bone to stomach 8. That's when we grab our heavenly chi, as in our demo, and we're coming down following the jugular groove. But we can't come down close because kidney is in between conception and stomach. So because kidney is the closest in, followed by stomach. Now, in order to figure out what foresoon from the ventral midline is, for when we get a little lower, we need to get his soon measurement. So from his elbow, he has very long legs, to the middle of his knee is going to be 12. So half that is going to be 6, and half again is going to be 3. So this is going to be more than a hand's width for me. So we're going to come underneath the foreleg and we're going to find his midline, which he has a nice depression there. We're going to follow about a hand's width off the ventral midline. Once we reach the xiphoid process, which is the end of his ribs, you're going to feel that V and you're going to jog half the distance in towards the midline because we need to hit stomach 25. So we're going to come along and find our umbilicus, which is CV8, if anyone is curious. Too soon lateral to that is going to be stomach 25. It goes up into the inguinal area then, and we pick it up on the craniolateral side of the hind leg. It's the most cranial of the lateral meridians. So we're going to come down to stomach 35. We're going to keep coming down to stomach 36, our master point. And then we're coming down, remember, stomach jogs slightly upward to stomach 40. It actually.
We're coming down, we want to aim for 42, which we know is our source point. So we're going to come down just below the joint there at the head of the bone. We're going to keep coming down to 45 at the front of the coronary band. That stomach, we're going to switch to its sister, the spleen. We get him to one step forward.
Forward or back?
Forward, so his other leg is forward. Yeah. Perfect. So we're at stomach 45. We're going to skip liver. We're going to go to spleen. So spleen 1 is our Jingwell point. We're going to come up. At the base of the split bone is going to be spleen 3. That's our source point. Now we're going to come up. In the skinniest part of the hock, 3 soon above the medial malleolus against the back of the tibia, which on him is more than 4 fingers for me. It's going to be a little bit higher. It's going to be spleen 6. That's our master point for the urogenital system. We're going to keep coming up. He has a nice big vein right here. Just in front of it is going to be spleen 9. Remember, that's the one we found yesterday using the muscular piece on the back. Get the level correct. Spleen then comes up a little bit wider, so it goes up into the inguinal area. We pick it up on the costochondral junctions, which is where the rib and the cartilage come together. So it's the lower portion of the abdomen. Aim for level with the point of the shoulders. In the same intercostal space as bladder 15. So, 15, 13, 14, 15. Remember the ribs curve forward on a bit of the stomach. Make sure it's level with this and the point of the shoulder. A little bit lower. It's going to be your spleen plate. You want me to do that again a little bit faster?
Good boy.
So, stomach 1, bifurcation of the face vein, stomach 2, coming down to the edge of the mouth, stomach 4, coming along the jaw, up, stomach 8, grab our head in the cheek, we come back down, coming along the ventral portion, under the arm, 4 soon off the ventral midline, yes.
Just for the measurement of the wouldn't it be that elbow to the knee in thirds, not in fourths?
This is 12.
Yeah, so then 4 soon would be.
I do 3 and then I just add a little bit more. Because there are a couple of, like, spleen 6 is 3 soon. So you could also do front of the shoulder and add. But usually by default I just do 3. But good question. So we're going to stay 4 soon off this ventral midline. About our hands. Wider than hands then. Once we reach the end of his ribs, which you can actually see based on his hair pattern under here, we're going to go halfway in, coming along to stomach 25, 2 soon lateral to the umbilicus. Then it goes up into the inguinal area. Pick it up in the cranial lateral part of the leg. We got stomach 35, stomach 36. Coming down, jog up to 40. It kind of crosses gallbladder. Does a bit of a jog like this. Comes down to 42. All the way down to the front of the coronary band, 45. Then switch to over liver to spleen 1. Going up the caudo-medial, meaning towards the back side, to spleen 3 at the base of the split bone. We're coming up. 3 soon above the tendocalcaneus, but against the back of the tibia. A little wider than the hand is going to be spleen 6. We're coming up in front of the big vein. You can almost see it from there. It's going to be spleen 9. Then we're going up into the inguinal area. We pick it up, coming down the costochondral junction, going towards the point of the shoulder to spleen 20, jogging up slightly and backwards to spleen 21 in the 10th intercostal, which you can also find same rib space as bladder 50. So we have a little more wiggle room. Okay. So this morning we ended at spleen 21, right? Level of the front of the shoulder. And the 10th intercostal. So we're going from here. We know part 1 is the armpit, right? So I'm going to be demoing on the medial side of the leg, so if you can't see, just move so that you can. So we're going to move to heart 1, which is on the belly in the middle of the armpit, up in here. Remember, that's the one that's kind of in here. And we're just going to come down the back side of the leg. Remember, heart 7 is one of the meridians that crosses the midline. So the same way large intestine crosses medial to lateral over the carpus, heart crosses the same place over the back, just above the accessory cartilage. So we're going to come down and cross. We're coming over to the lateral side of heart 7. So we have 1 up here, coming down as it crosses laterally, coming to heart 7, which is opposite pericardium 7, right? Coming down, 1/3 forward to heart 9. Nice and short, 3 points. Okay. 1 meridian forward, so 1/3 back from the coronary band or 2/3 forward from the heel bulb. We have small intestine 1. We're going to come up just above their ankle is going to be small intestine 3. Going to continue up below their knee, small intestine 4. Or sorry, yeah, small intestine 4, which is opposite large intestine 4.
Maybe just straight, not just like don't be there.
I just want to make sure I'm blocking it. Okay, remember we're aiming for the back of the elbow. So we're coming up. It goes around the knee, right? Because this is where large intestine crosses over. So we're coming up the back.
Yeah, but this is small, right?
Small intestine, yeah. Coming up to 8 at the elbow. We're coming up to 9 in the muscular part, the back side of the humerus. It's between the deltoid and the tricep. Coming on the back side of the shoulder, we're coming up the top third of the neck. Remember we have bladder coming down here, so we want to be just below that. We're going to come up. When we hit about the level of his eye, we're going to cross over onto the face, aiming for the edge of the eye, down here, and then aiming to the bottom of the ear, small intestine. So we're going to do that one more time. We get him to take a step forward, or one back. So we're going to start at heart 1, coming down the caudolateral, or the back side of the lateral side, as it crosses over the back of the leg, above the accessory carpal. We're going to end going to heart 7, coming down, heart 9, jumping 1 forward, small intestine 1, small intestine 3, which is our distal point for shoulder issues. The source point, small intestine 4. Then we're going towards the lateral side, coming up to 8. Then we have 9 between the tricep and the deltoid. Coming up the back side of the shoulder blade, top third of the neck, coming across. When we hit about level with his eye, but we need to reduce the eye. And then we turn up towards the base of his ear, small intestine 19. Bladder 1, the inner corner of the eye. We're coming up over, closest to conception, because you have gallbladder and triple heater that also have to go between the dorsal midline and that ear. Coming down. We also have to get his suit measurement because once we get over his shoulder, the distance becomes more important. So, back of the elbow to here, these are very, very long. Half the distance, half again. It's about a whole hand. So, coming down, we have top of the scapula is 12, so we're going to go through 11, 12, 13. Our association points through here, 25, 27, 28, coming down to 40. I will show you the branches also separate behind the shoulder. So we're coming along. Join back together, bladder 40. Come slightly lateral because bladder 60 is in the skinniest part of the hock on the lateral side, opposite kidney 3. We're going to continue down. Our source point is bladder 64. And we're going to keep coming down 1/3 forward from the heel bulb on the lateral side is bladder 67. We're then going to switch to his other leg. Our kidney 1 starts between the heel bulbs of the back foot. We're aiming for kidney 3, which is going to be up here. So we're coming up furthest back on the medial side to kidney 3, and then go around and up the back portion on side, coming one soon ventral from the midline. Once you reach the end of the ribs, or where you hit the ribs, you go out slightly because we want to aim for kidney 27, which is too soon lateral, coming under the arms, up to kidney 27.
And kidney is the closest to the conception vessel?
Yes. So on the ventral midline, it goes conception, then kidney, then stomach, and by the time you get to the side, because spleen is here, right? So then you have stomach and kidney. Okay. So I'm going to do that again one more time. Small intestine 19 is where we ended yesterday. We're going to go to bladder 1, inner corner of the eye. We're coming up, trying to stay about a hand's width, but it's the top third of the neck. So remember, small intestine also comes up the top third. So we're coming around 11, 12, 13 to start our association points. They split right here. Your association are going to be on the more dorsal one. Coming around the hip. 40. Coming down to our aspirin point, 60. 64. Back side. Most caudal on the lateral side. Coming down to 67. Our Gingwall point. Then we switch to kidney 1 between the heel valves. We're coming up the back side, aiming for 3, which again is opposite bladder 40. We're coming around the median malleolus, up the caudo-medial side of the back leg, coming along ventrally, one soon, lateral to the midline. When you hit the ribs, you're going to double the distance. So we're going to come out a little because we're coming up to end at 27. Okay, we also have our 2 alarm points. Gallbladder 25 is much easier to find. You slide your hand to the edge of the last rib and slide down to the costochondral junction. That's gallbladder 25, the alarm point for kidney. We remember yesterday, if you count one rib space forward, slightly below, that's going to be liver 13, the alarm point for spleen. So they're really close together. Our other alarm point is a conception vessel point. It's going to be behind the umbilicus. Okay? So, now it's okay. So a CV8 is our umbilicus. 2 soon behind that is CV5, which is an alarm point. 1 more soon behind that is CV4. That's also an alarm point. 1 more soon behind that is CV3, which is the alarm point for bladder. So it's closest to the genital area. So you may not always be able to check this point because they may not be comfortable being touched in that area. Ended at kidney 27, right? So I'm going to be up here. We're going to go down the elbow, but on the chest. So level, basically back of the elbow, the same way you find CV17 by going back, being able to trace to the midline. We're going to go back of the elbow, but right on the body is going to be pericardium 1. So heart 1 is a little more central or middle to the armpit, and lung 1 is up here. Because people usually get those 3 a little bit mixed up. So pericardium 6 is our next landmark. It's going to be in front of the center of the chestnut. So we actually have to go around 6. We have going 9, which is going to be between the heel valves on the front foot. So we're staying very much towards the back, coming down in between the heel valves. At the end of pericardium, we're going to go to triple heater, which is on the front. So we're going back to front. Triple heater 1. We're coming up. Remember our source point, not on the midline, slightly lateral in between the rows of carpal bones, is 4. So we have large intestine now coming up the front, small intestine up the back. We're going to go right in the middle, right up this nice crease here. We have 14. So we have large intestine 15, triple heater 14. We're going to come up is actually ridge. So we're going to come up. Closest to the ear of the three that go between the ear and the midline to come down to 23. So because we have triple heater, we have gallbladder, we have bladder before we hit the midline. So in that tiny distance, you have to fit 3. So stay as close to the ear as you can when you're coming around to get to 23. Okay? Yeah. It's hard because there's a lot of points in this specific area because you have stomach 8. Remember when we come up, you have bladder coming up here, and then you have triple heater 23. There's also your small intestine 19. So there's a lot of points in that area. Want to see that one more time? You're going to take one step forward or backwards, whichever way. Okay. That worked. Did everybody see from there? Okay. Pericardium 1. So on humans it's harder to see because of the way our arm is, but lung is going to be the low one the most forward. Heart starts center of the armpit. Pericardium is the furthest back. Because heart and pericardium actually cross up here. Because pericardium, we know heart comes down here, pericardium comes down here. So they actually cross, which gets confusing. Because you know pericardium is more medial, we have 6 in front of the chestnut. We have 7, our thoracoid. Slightly lateral from the midline, coming up the middle of the leg, aiming for triple heater 14. That's another one of our landmarks. Triple heater 15, you don't really need to know, but just to make sure you're getting the landmark, we're going to come up the center of the neck, around our ear, 20. Which meridian did we end with yesterday?
Somebody.
Everyone's brain's like, nope, I don't know. It's all right. We ended with triple heater on the supraorbital ridge at 23. This is actually the closest, like, one meridian to the neck. Because gallbladder 1 is right here. So you're just going down beside the eye. Give me a second. We'll get off your head in 1 second. So gallbladder has to come up around the ear, in between triple heater and bladder, because they're both going to come in this area. So you're coming, gallbladder 1 starts the outer corner of the eye. You're coming up over the head, in between the ears and your dorsal midline. Coming down, our next landmark, there is a point behind the ear, the wing of the atlas, that's gallbladder 20, just in case you're curious. Coming down to 21, the first thoracic vertebrae that we talked about yesterday. Then it goes underneath the shoulder blade, so there are no gallbladder points on the shoulder itself. We're picking it up on the lateral side of the abdomen. So remember we have spleen here, so we can't come too low. Our next landmark is gallbladder 24 in the 13th intercostal. So we're coming along the ribs. The ribs curve up here. So if we know gallbladder 25 is the caudal edge of the last rib, we need to count forward 4 rib spaces. You can also check by coming across, finding the space for in between bladder 18 and 19. Remember, you skip 1 space, it will give you your correct distance here. Then we're coming up, gallbladder 25, the alarm point 4. Does anybody remember?
Kidney.
Kidney, beautiful. Then we're coming up through almost just above where the little hair part stops, because we have 29 and 30. We're aiming for the side, because the can't seam is your gallbladder, because we have bladder on the back and stomach on the front. So we're coming down, 34 is your influential for 10 movements. We're coming down. Pretty soon above the lateral malleolus is going to be 39, your influential point for marrow. There rest. 40 is your source point. We're coming down, ending 1/3 from the front of the coronary vein at 44. then going to switch to liver. So you know stomach is the front. Spleen is the most medial. So we're going to go in between for liver. We have liver 1, liver 2 below the ankle, liver 3. We're coming up. Liver is the most towards the back, no, towards the front. But it does cross spleen up in the inguinal area, around just below spleen 9. So we're coming up the front part of the leg, and to get to liver 8, it crosses the spleen meridian just below spleen 9. So it comes over and it's behind the saphenous vein. Liver 8. Liver then goes up into the inguinal area. Our first landmark on the side of the body is liver 13, which is our alarm point for spleen. So again, we're going to flat hand find the edge of the last rib, count forward 1 rib space. It's on the intercostal junction of the second to last rib. In order to find liver 14, our landmark is the edge of the elbow in terms of height-wise, and it curves down. And it's going to be in the same rib space as the liver. So in order to check, we can go 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Follow the curve of the rib. Once you get below your costochondral junction, the ribs curve forward a little bit. So just be careful of that. And that's liver 14, the alarm point for liver. And that is the end of tracing all 12 meridians. That is where you end, which is great because we know then level 1 starts here. So that's the end of the last one. This is the first of the first meridian. And that's all 12. So,
Oh, I see. Your shoes label on yours over there. It says it wants to be number 1.
Okay, I get that.
yeah. All right, so our conception vessel starts directly underneath the anus. For demo purposes, obviously, I'm not going to stick my finger that close to his butt. We're going to pick it up coming underneath the abdomen. Over the sheath, our first one is going to be conception vessel 3, which is forsoon caudal to your umbilicus. It's just going to be here. The great part is these 3 alarm points, 1 soon forward is CV4, that's small intestine. 1 more soon forward, CV5. That's our next alarm point, or triple heater. Then half a soon forward. Which is halfway between our umbilicus and our xiphoid, is 12. Usually it's one of the lowest points on their body. Then between these 2, half that distance is 14. 17 is going to be back of the shoulder on the ventral midline. So we're coming straight up, directly on the midline, coming underneath to 4. 1. Okay. Governing vessel starts just above the anus, so right underneath the tail. Again, not going to stick my fingers there. We're going to come up starting across here. We have walkway in our lumbosacral space. The first one that we give you is CV3, which is in between, in terms of association points, in between 25 and 23. So your CV 23 and 25 is going to be 3, directly above our bladder 23, because it's part of our kidney belt, is governing vessel 4, which if you want to find it and not count ribs, if bladder 23 straight to the midline is governing vessel 4. We're coming forward directly above bladder 13 is governing vessel 12. If we keep coming forward, we have 14. And then we're coming all the way up the head. We have yin tong on the front of the face between the eyes. In between the nostrils.
She's quite nippy and mouthy. She's got a great character for riding, and she jumps 18 inches, works 8 to 10 hours a week.
She's also 10, so that would tell me how many points I get to use for her. Probably 6, depending on what my association points look like. While you guys were out and walking over, I did a little bit of my pre-session to make sure that I'm calm and relaxed. I warmed my hands up a little bit using Make Fire. While Cassidy was walking her towards me, I started watching her movements, because usually before you actually get in a stall with the horse, you can make a lot of visual observations before you even get in there. But we're starting with our first exam. So I'm looking at her. Her eyes are nice and bright. She doesn't have any discharge coming out of her eyes. Her nose is a little wet, but it could be because she was just eating. Her ears are nice and healthy. I don't see a lot of crustiness inside her ears. And you can touch them at this point if they'll let you to kind of introduce yourself. But again, typically we don't actually touch them till the 4th exam. But if you need to, for example, for listening, if you need to hear the gut sounds, that you can use your hands to kind of introduce yourself. So her coat seems pretty soft, pretty even. I'm not seeing a lot of patchiness or dryness. She has a nice shiny coat, which means that her kidney is hopefully doing pretty well. She's a little young to have kidney issues, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that. You want to make sure to check all of her orifices, ears, eyes, nose, and mouth, because those are where our meridians open up to. Haven't even started doing anything yet, and she's already, which is great. All right. In terms of her hoof, she has 2 horseshoes on the front, but is not shod on the back. So you usually want to note, especially if they're split like that. Sometimes the owner will give you information of something about why they're wearing it that way, which usually someone like Lisa would have her farrier background and be able to give us more information about that. Usually with their medical history, you'll also get something like a lot of information about their diet, what they eat, in terms of when she was last dewormed, and all of that information. They didn't say anything about how long she's been at this barn, right?
No. Judging by she also has a paper on her stall as opposed to, let's say, laminate.
Probably came in around the same time as the other guy.
Potentially.
Yeah. So again, you may not always get a perfectly detailed history, so you don't want to become too dependent on that. Our second exam is listening. Oh wait, we want to do our hydration pinch. Make sure when her head is not turned, that it snaps back quite nicely. We want to check her capillary refill time if she'll let me touch her mouth, because I haven't looked at her teeth yet. Her teeth aren't terrible for a 10-year-old, but her capillary refill time is really good.
How was the color?
Her gums were a little bit paler than I was expecting, but her capillary refill time was pretty good. So I'm not too concerned there. Seems like she's drinking enough water to make sure, but again, when I get to my 4th exam, usually if I see really pale gums, I want to check to make sure that her legs aren't cold, because that could be a circulation-based issue. So, then we move on to the second exam, which is our listening and smelling. So based on her breathing, besides when she was walking, her breathing seems pretty consistent. She's not taking super shallow breaths. She can take deep breaths. There's not a whole lot other than some excitement when she was coming over here. So her breathing seems relatively good. I'm going to go and smell her mouth. See? Smells like a nice healthy horse, which is good. Love that smell. If I were in her stall, I would then go in and look to see what her urine and her stool or manure looks like, what the coloration is, and write down all of that information. I'm going to pretend in this case that the horse is outside or was in a pasture before the session, and we don't have that information, just because quite often you won't have that information. So we're going to move into our 3rd exam. We got some of the history from Tina, that she does jumping. She's fairly new. You say she has any sensitive areas?
Not that they noted down. They just said she's got a good character in herself.
Okay. Sometimes you will get a little bit of history, especially if the horse is new to the barn or if it is a rescue, so don't become too dependent
on that part of your 4 exams. My 4th exam is going to be feeling over the body for hots and colds. So I'm just going to make sure. And again, if my hands are too cold, I'm going to warm them up first. Otherwise, everything will feel warm. Her jaw on the left side is a little bit warm. The cranial part of her shoulder on the left side is warm. There's a lot of heat around large intestine 11. And usually I'll do one side and then the other side, depending on how they're standing. She has a lot of heat down here. You know there were quite a few alarm points down here, so I'm going to keep that in mind. She has a lot of heat down in the lower part of her abdomen too, which I know is where the spleen meridian comes across, so I'm going to keep that in mind. No, a lot of heat here. The top of her hip is also warm. I would take note that she's turning and looking at me while I'm on her back leg. And the caudal portion of her ankle joint is really cold, and her back foot. And I'm going to go to the other side. And just do the same. I'm just doing the same thing I did on this side. Just checking over. And you can always compare left side to right side if you're not sure. Was she? Yeah, she kind of ate her stuff. Her jaw's warm on both sides. The front of her chest here is also warm. The dorsal portion of her neck on this side is warm. Her right shoulder is very hot. She has a very small, hard lump just behind, or in the back of her right elbow. Medial side of her upper leg is really warm.
And it's different size too.
Comparing here, different size.
Yeah.
Below the top of her shoulder joint is also warm. A lot of warmth on the ventral part of the abdomen on this side also. Same with the other side.
It's got licking and blowing here.
Warmth on the lateral side of the hip on this side also. And again, cool on the lower portion of her hind legs.
She did the same. She looked at you and you were touching there on both sides.
If you want to compare, as Anu was saying, just looking to see as part of sizing, if all of her limbs are the same size on both sides for swelling and things like that. That's usually part of the first, because her back, just below her ankles on the back, looks a little big on both sides. She also has some scarring on the front of her legs. for exams, what part comes next? So we're going to start, if she doesn't want to me to start on the face, I'm going to start up here. We're coming down. Actually, I want to get this one measurement first. So we're going to come back to here. It's just wider than the hand. He has quite long legs. Come down. It has some heat right about here on the bottom. Yeah.
Why we're touching?
Yeah. It's showing us.
Oh wow.
Her 22 is really hot. And you can use the flat part of your hand. You can use fingers, or you can use all 4 fingers together. It really depends on the size of the horse you're working on. Again, if I want to increase her energy, I'm going to trace it faster. If I want to decrease her energy, especially at the end of the session, I'm going to do it slower. Sometimes they'll let you touch the face when you get to the second side.
Yeah, maybe it does. Yeah, lots of barns don't have enough paddocks to do partial returns. So I don't know the answer, but I would say that it's yeah, because there is a turnout. So I think maybe I don't know.
Sometimes
All these barns are full. They have a little side barn there that is empty right now. They just keep it as quarantine barn. Yeah, exactly.
So when I'm doing the opening, I always like to keep both hands on them, even if I'm doing a little bit like this. And when I'm crouching, I usually keep one hand on, just to keep the connection there so she knows where I am. Okay, so now we've done our opening. Notice the heat in kind of the same places, but she's more sensitive on her other side than on this side. So that's something else that I would take note of. So we're ready to do our association points. If someone could write these down, because sometimes I remember all of them, sometimes I do not. Lung on the left is slightly warm, and she's very irritable at this point.
Are you ready? I'm taking notes of that.
Pericardium is also warm on the left. Is a little bit warm. 22 is hot. On this side.
Big change, isn't it?
Reaction for her on 23. 25 is good, coming over the hip. 27 is good. 28 is good on this side.
Big reaction.
Bladder on this side is a little bit warm.
Which one?
Bladder 15. You're only at the first one. Heart.
13.
That was 13. Yeah.
Still
14.
phlegm?
That's 14.
Okay.
That's pericardium.
Pericardium again. She's new here. She's new here.
Heart is a little bit warm on this side.
Phlegm again.
What's the name of this?
Phlegm. Flesh.
Bladder 18 is actually raised,
What is raised?
meaning it goes up.
Oh.
Skip one, 19. 19 is also a little warm, so gallbladder on this side.
Yeah. She agrees.
Spleen is normal.
Wow.
More of a response from her, but it feels warm, so I'm still going to write that down.
She was licking her lips just now.
That was stomach on this side. Large intestine is a little bit warm, but not really concerned. The reaction could also be because of the people that are coming.
Maybe.
It could be,
No,
yeah.
I think it's new.
Small intestine is a tiny bit warm, but bladder.
Sorry, say that.
Small intestine is a little bit warm, bladder. Okay. Just summarize our
And bladder, what?
Okay,
normal.
on the left-hand side, we had lung was warm, pericardium was warm. I can't think that's enough. 21
21 is stomach.
was a little bit warm.
Okay.
22 was hot.
Adjusting to new environments. Right.
23, there wasn't really anything that you felt, but she had a reaction.
Kidney, okay.
On the right-hand side, 13, so lung was warm and she had a big reaction. 14, same thing, you felt some warmth and she had a big old raised lip reaction. Heart, warm. 18, liver was raised.
Oh, thank God it's not just me.
Gallbladder was a little bit warm. Spleen, good. You didn't particularly feel anything, but she had a reaction. Large intestine, a little bit warm. Small intestine, a little bit warm. Bladder fine.
So it sounds, based on her association points, most of her issues are lung, pericardium, and a little bit towards the back end. She did react to kidney on one side, and she did have a lot of warmth on the ventral part of her abdomen on both sides, so I want to remember to look at that. But now comes the alarm points. So any of the association points that had that felt off, that I'm going to check the alarm points. So we're going to check lung. Lung one on the left side is slightly warm. Lung one.
Oh, I know, but you're checking both sides already in the same position.
Yep.
She's reactive. Is
Yeah,
that-
she's reactive to the one on the right side, and it's a little bit warm. Going based on association points, our pericardium is our next alarm point. Does anyone remember what the alarm for pericardium is? CB17. All right. Nice and unilateral.
Sorry. What alarm point are you doing?
Pericardium. It's a little spongy, but the temperature is normal. So because we don't know how long ago he got here, or sorry, she got here, that I think trust in relationships is going to be an important part for her. The lung could also have to do with grief of leaving her last place.
And her fatty?
Yeah. We also have heart on one side, right? Association-wise.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to check CB14. Which is good. What was our next reactive alarm? On either side.
Heart 18 was raised, so liver.
Okay. So our alarm point for liver, does anyone remember what it is?
14.
14. So, point of the elbow. She's doing a kind of like up and down motion there.
Yeah. I've never seen that.
And we have to match it to liver.
What is that?
She's doing a head bobbing with liver 14.
So that means that it's reactive, so something is quite,
She had a lot of heat across here, so that doesn't surprise me. The liver 14 feels a little bit warm.
say it again?
Fleischmann.
Fleischmann.
She's doing that without noise.
This is still on liver.
That's liver 14 on this side. I have to check the other side.
That's a learned track behavior that.
That's shortbread.
Yeah, it's just a track. It's a stress relief.
No reaction on this side. Temperature is normal on this side. All right, what's our next one?
Liver. Gallbladder was warm.
It's on the 15th.
So that's going to be one intercostal space backwards from the one we were just on. Or no, liver 13 is caustic one junction of the second to last. That's spleen. Sorry, we're doing gallbladder 24. Yes, so one rib space backwards and slightly above is going to be gallbladder 24.
Emotional stuff, I guess.
It's a release.
Oh, yeah.
So nothing really you're feeling, but she's reacting.
Yeah. It feels normal to me.
Okay.
She's chewing.
Well,
She just stole some hay out of the...
What?
she just stole some hay of the hay bag.
Oh.
Moving away from me when I did gallbladder on this side. So that was too... It felt normal, but her reaction...
So you just let go.
Yeah. She stepped away, so I just let go. Alright. Next would be spleen. I think her spleen was normal on both sides, right?
Spleen was normal, but she had a reaction.
Okay. I mean, when in doubt, just check it anyway.
And then it was just large intestine was a little warm, not small intestine.
Or two intestines. Feels a little bit warm, but she's not having a reaction to it, which is good. But it does feel a touch warm on this side. And I have to check it on the other side. It is a little warm on this side, and she started chewing a little bit. And then we have our two,
She She lets some air out too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yes.
She is not fond of those alarm points.
She's hungry. She was eating.
Alright. The alarm point for a large intestine is stomach 25. Yes. So it's 2 student lateral to her umbilicus, which if your hand is big enough, you can check both at the same time. Usually I like to do one first. Left side normal. Right side tiny bit alarm, but not overly alarming. And our small intestine is CV which number?
3.
That's bladder.
Okay,
One
4. 4.
That's alright. Alright. So if our umbilicus is CV8, we're going to go back 3 soon. A little bit warm, but again, remember alarm points along the ventral part may just naturally be warmer, especially up in the groin area. So you can do a temperature check to somewhere else on your body that you know is a normal temperature. Yeah. Comparatively, it's normal to the rest of your body. Okay. So I've done our association. We've done our alarm. Which reactive alarms do we have?
Lung?
Lung for sure.
Yeah, lung, pericardium was spongy but no heat or cold.
Okay.
Liver was big reactions from her, but no reaction on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Gallbladder there was heat. She did a big reaction when you went to the right side. She said no thank you and moved away. Spleen, kind of the same thing, even though it didn't really come up on the association points. She had just a little reaction on the left-hand side when you moved to the right-hand side. She took a step away from you. And then large intestine on both sides were just big tiny.
So I think for her, my primary concerns are lung, pericardium, and liver, based on what we've sensed. That's not altogether surprising if we have possible dreaming from leaving her last home. We have adjusting to new environment, which triple heater was really hot on one side. We actually didn't check the alarm point, which is actually quite warm for triple heater. So I'm going to perhaps do pericardium 6, triple heater 5 as a nice helping her adjust. We don't have information about how she's getting along with the other courses, but if, for example, the owner said that, she's having a hard time making friends here, that I may, in her particular case, actually do both point combos. But I would probably start with pericardium 6, triple heater 5. I want to include a lung point or something to help the lung meridian. Now I could choose lung 9, I could choose lung 7. There's also CV17, which is our influential point for respiration. And it's physically located on the chest, so it's going to help with that area. And it's the alarm point for pericardium. So I think I'm leaning a little more CV17.
See, that's why I confused 17, I think, because I looked for respiration, but it's actually PE alarm.
It's both, yeah.
It's both, so that's why a while ago, okay.
There's no.
Say that again? What do you mean by that?
The hoop walls of the internal structures, those things called lamina.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's supposed to be like this. And we have separation. Looks like that. Yeah, so I mean that is lamina.
Is it? Okay, you saw
Because
that.
it's inflammation. It might not be active inflammation, but the lamina has separated from the internal structure. And sometimes you can see it like further down where below the cornea, then they actually have a good connection. And then as it separates out, but especially that.
which hopefully the owner of the horse would be able to tell you, because they'll be there when you do the session, and you can ask them, oh, she's a history of laminitis. Your brain would immediately go liver.
A lot of the time, it's like really, because they don't actually have the information that put awareness to it, they might actually find it.
Laminitis is
And
related
if
to what?
it's that bad,
It's
she's
like you
equally
take
lame
this
on
part
both
of the nail
sides, so
and rip it
I
up.
think that she's fine.
There's fibers in there.
And the fact that it comes from
Laminitis
that
is
down,
very ripped up.
there's no like.
It's very, it's a,
And then.
is laminitis considered a disease or a condition?
Well, if you have physical,
Oh, I would imagine that's a great question to ask.
She's
Or it
doing
doesn't matter.
she's doing P6
Oh.
typically the first one that
H5.
comes up, it's a condition, but if it's something they've had for a really long time, then it would be more of a disease.
And I may be incorrect here, but the heels are really,
It all just comes with what's happening there.
Well, she has two horseshoes on the front, so normally I'd say, well, is this corrective to, help to support the structures of the hoof if you're saying that she was weak laminated?
The way it's shoot, not like that. That's not correct.
like,
Maybe for swimming.
for correcting lamina, I see them put the shoe backwards, upside down, backwards, like the opening of the back. But that's an extreme case. But to me, that looked way too, and so,
Just
it
the
doesn't
whole
look-
foot is running forward.
Yeah.
And they're shoeing and
Yeah.
running.
Yeah.
They're
The
not.
heel is too low, the toe is too long. Okay. And I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean it in recognition.
Yo sé si GB bajo alta. Bajo.
Wait,
Bow.
yeah. So I've done CV17 on the ventral midline to help with relationship building and some connection to the lung because it has to achieve respiration. And then I did PE6 and triple heater 5 on both sides. For PE6 was actually really warm on both sides, triple heater a little bit less so, which suggests she may be adjusting to her environment. But again, because we don't have information on how she's doing socially here,
Yeah, but
in that, if I had
we
known
have
that information, I
from her body.
probably would have done part 7 pericardium 7 instead. But you work with what you got.
Going back to the hooves, just a question of like, can hooves and organs hooves and liver is paired. If you have a hoof that is maybe like not as well taken care of, or different things like this, where the farrier schedule is not as
Like our
ideal.
example from last time when it was like 6
Yeah.
months later.
And
6 months.
like issues from poor timing and all of that create liver problems. Like 'cause
Yeah.
obviously liver can manifest in the hoof, can hoof then go back up
Yes.
and like create liver issues.
It's the argument of which came first, the chicken or the egg.
Okay.
So for example, they have physical damage to somewhere, that meridian may be perfectly healthy, but once they have damage to, for example, the hoof, then their liver meridian is going to be affected. So
What that
it can
way?
go either way.
And then that can influence
Yeah,
the
but
organ.
if, on the other hand, her liver was perfectly healthy, her hooves were healthy, she had an invasion of wind that threw off her liver meridian, and then that manifested externally, or her flop for the liver is deterioration of the hoof. So it can go either way. I'm just doing liver 3 on the back foot.
It's liver 3.
Liver 3 is actually cool on this side, which, remember when I said the whole bottom part of her leg is kind of cool?
Yes.
So again, you could also do a hard point to help with circulation. So depending on her adjustment dynamic to her new environment versus relationships, if you wanted to do part 7 pericardium 7, you would get kind of both, because you would get helping her socialize in her new environment, trusting new people, but also circulation to her lower limbs. Liver 3, because of its location, is a source point, so it's also going to rebalance the whole liver meridian. So So far, because I've used a combination and 2 unilateral points, I've actually only done 4 of my 10.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Liver obviously is bilateral, so that would be 6 of 10. And you don't have to do them all, that's just your cap for how many you can do. Something else I could add to this, if I wanted to make it a little more effective for her circulation, is that Tway-knot technique I showed you, of tracing from the source point to the Jingwell point to help improve circulation in that area. So I trace down, liver meridian, and she also has swelling in the back. Do that for your 60 to 90 seconds. I'm just taking note to see if the temperature changes or if it gets softer or harder while I'm working on it. Or if her weight bearing changes. She also just farted.
Yeah, she just farted.
Yeah. Gas release is always a good sign. Again, also cool on this side.
If she took that plank full step forward, and you have to reposition your hand. This is more for like the owners, because obviously, like as practitioners, you'll feel that change of hold or not.
Yeah.
But if, like as a general rule, to give somebody who can't necessarily feel that change, if they take their hand off the point and put it back on, do they have to restart that 60-second, or can they just like continue until?
I would say they can continue sometimes. If I'm feeling for temperature changes, I'll start on the point, for example, increase the pressure a little bit until I feel the resistance. Then I'll ease off a little bit as I start to feel it let go. But if you actually remove your hand, just try and stick to the 60 and 90 for the whole time you're doing the point.
And you just hold it, you don't make a movement with your fingers in a rotation?
For those particular points, I started with holding it, and then I did the Tway-knot technique of moving towards the Jingwell. So I did liver 3 to liver 2 to liver 1, coming down that side.
And on the point itself, like we've talked about some point that we can circle it either clockwise or counterclockwise. And that was
Because
not
we checked some of her alarms and some of them were reactive, that she may have some deficiencies, just a little bit, due to wherever she was before. In that case, you would want to go clockwise. But in her case, because I was doing the Tway-knot, I didn't. If in this case you're like, okay, I've done 6 of 10, and you want to kind of check back in, you can check your association points again to see, okay, these ones are normal now, these ones are not. So I'm going to try and pick a point to help support the ones that are not. Yeah, and you can do this a little bit faster if you're just going across. So now her lung and pericardium feel normal on this side. A little bit on the triple heater still on this side. So I might do a triple heater point.
And do you reassess your association points once you're done on that side, or like for you personally, do you do your points on one side, recheck, and then go around to the other side to do the points?
Usually when I'm doing the points, for example, when I was doing liver 3, I did the one on this side first. Normally I'd go to the other side, but then I would do the point on the other side first. You want to do the ones on, if it's bilateral, you want to do both before you recheck. So you go to the other side and just check her association. In my head, I'm saying them out loud as I'm going across, just in case you're wondering what I'm mouthing. Lung, pericardium, heart. They're all normal on this side. So it's just triple heater on this one side. When in doubt, go to the source point. So I'm going to triple heater 4. You could also do triple heater 1. If you do triple heater 4 and you check her association again and it's still not normal, usually then I'll go and do the table. I want to give the source a try first.
You would expect at every session that the association points would go totally normal?
Not all. I mean, that'd be nice if they were. Again, it's also soft and spongy for triple heater 4 on this side.
They all come out to see.
Wondering where the food wagon went.
I'm in the way.
Still over there. Last but not least, triple heater 1. Her whole cornet band is actually quite cool, which doesn't surprise me if you're saying she has laminitis, but yeah.
It's not
It almost looks like someone's stalling like that.
On her back.
Yeah.
On that one, more so than this one.
Yeah. It doesn't take long.
For laminitis, also points for circulation are really helpful to make sure that blood is still getting all the way. Because the spleen has to nourish the core limbs, spleen and heart points are also helpful for laminitis. Part.
Shut her down.
And if she's really relaxed right now, I kind of want to keep her that way, so I'm not going to do it really fast because that would energize her. Questions while I'm doing this? I will take side of the now.
De succession dat je dit doet, je interviewt Jane welkom en dat je dat.
So she went back to check the association points, and the only one that came up warm was triple heater. So then she went to the source, and then went back and checked the
And
association.
because you did
it was
the
still a little
source
bit
on
warm,
this
so
side,
she went to the gym.
and then
No pressure. Okay. So at the end of each meridian, I'm going to prompt you to tell me which meridian is next, just so you're aware. Ready?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, we're gonna let you start. Okay. So we start at lung 1. Not only is it the first point of the first meridian, is also the alarm point. So we're going to start at lung 1 in the pec muscle of the chest. Our landmark is coming along the lower part of the wrist. So we're going to come up over the craniomedial side of the forelimb. We have 7, 9 at the base of the thumb, and 11 at the end of your thumb. Which meridian comes next? Large intestine is the sister. We're going to go 1 finger over to large intestine 1. We're coming up to large intestine 4. That's our master point for the face and mouth and our source point. Then it crosses over the cranial midline, aiming for the front part of the elbow. That's large intestine 11. Our next landmark is the front of the shoulder. So we're going to stay craniolateral 15. Remember, our last landmark is the edge of the nostril. So we're going to come up along the side of the neck, not the front, along the jaw to the edge of the nostril at 20. What comes after large intestine? Stomach starts underneath the eye. We're going to come down to 2, to 4 at the edge of the mouth. Following the curve of the jaw up to 8. Grab our heavenly chi. Then we're coming down the neck, aiming for our nipple line. When you reach the end of the ribs, you're going to jog half the distance in because we have to hit stomach 25, which is our next landmark, which is the alarm point for large intestine. Beautiful. So now we have to pass the cranial midline because our next landmark is stomach 35. So we're coming down, 35, 36. Then remember, stomach does a jog up to 40. Then we're coming down between the webbing of your second and third toe, where the toe bones join together, is stomach 42, our source point. And then we're going to end at the end of the middle toe at stomach 45. What comes after stomach? Spleen. Spleen 1 starts on the medial side of the big toe, in your arch of your foot, or if you're flat-footed, in the curve of the foot there, you're going to find your source point, spleen 3. We're coming up the back. Spleen 6 is going to be 3 soon above your ankle. We're coming up spleen 9. Keep coming up the medial part of the leg. Now spleen is going to be wider than stomach because it's outside the nipple line, right? So we have to come a little bit out. Your nipple line is here. Going to come up aiming for 20. Then we jog back to 21, which is our connecting of all connecting points. What comes after spleen? Heart. Perfect. So we're at spleen 21. We're going to go to the middle of the armpit, heart 1. We're going to come down. On humans, it doesn't cross over because we can just rotate our arm a little bit, but on horses it does. We're going to come along the back medial side. We have heart 7. And on the medial side of the pinky, we have heart 9. What comes after heart? What's the sister? Yeah, small intestine. So we're going to go to the other side of the pinky at small intestine 1. We're coming up to 4, just below your wrist bone on the lateral side. We're then aiming for the elbow, small intestine 8, again, not on the point of the elbow, but just above or medial to that. And your shoulder for the back. So we're coming up the back part of the shoulder. Once you get onto the shoulder blade, it makes a V shape. And our landmark, again, we're coming to the side of the ear. So we aim towards the eye and then end at the side of your ear. Small intestine 19. Thank you. What comes after small intestine? Bladder. Bladder 1. Imagine you're opening. I'm going to need you for bladder 2. Perfect. So we're going to start bladder 1, inner corner of the eye. This is the closest to our dorsal midline. So we're going to come up and over, coming down. When you hit the bottom of the shoulder blade is where it splits. So you have your 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and this is where it splits. So then you have your 2 lines coming down. They curve together, joining at bladder 40, which is our master point for our back and hips. and I can do the rest. Okay. So we have bladder 40. Because gallbladder, remember, is going to be pant seam on a human, so bladder is actually the back side of the leg. So we're coming down to bladder 60, which is opposite kidney 3. That's going to be our aspirin point. Then we're coming down to where the 4th and 5th toe bone join together is going to be our source point. And then we end at bladder 67, which is our Jingwell point. What comes after bladder?
Kidney.
Kidney. So, kidney 1 starts the ball of your foot. That's kidney 1. We're coming up to kidney 3, which again is opposite bladder 60. Then does a fun little detour around the ankle bone. Kidney is actually the most caudal on the medial side. So we're coming up. And kidney is also most closest to the ventral midline. So we're going to stay as far in as we can. We're going to make a little circle around the genital area. We're going to come up. When you hit the ribs, you're going to jog 1 soon outwards. So we're 2 soon now away from your midline. Coming up to our priest point, which is kidney 27. Association of all association points. What comes after kidney? Pericardium. Okay, so on humans, it's the bottom of the armpit. On horses, it's level with the back of the elbow on the trunk. Heart and pericardium actually cross right in this little area right here, because remember, pericardium is the most central on the medial side. So we're just going to come straight through our elbow crease. We have pericardium 6, 7, 8, and 9, the end of your middle finger. What comes out, or what's the sister to pericardium? Triple heater. 1 finger lateral, or your ring finger is going to be triple heater. We have triple heater 1. We're coming up to the wrist, just lateral to the cranial midline is going to be triple heater 4, which is our source point. We're going to come up the middle of our elbow, because we have large intestine on the front and small intestine on the back. Then we're coming up to the back of the shoulder, because we have our triple heater 14 on there. Can I borrow your shoulder for a second here? So we're coming back side of the shoulder blade is triple heater 14. Remember, this one has to come really close to around the ear. So we're going to aim for the ear, come around, and we end up, on humans it's a little different because of the way our face is shaped, but we want to end at the supraorbital crest here at 23. What comes after triple heater? Gallbladder. So gallbladder 1 starts at the outer canthus. Thank you. The outer corner of the eye. Gallbladder has to come between triple heater and bladder. So on horses, that area between the ear and the dorsal midline is very small. On humans, it's obviously a little bit wider. This is the weird part I was warning you about. So gallbladder, just watch me before you do this. It comes towards the ear, it goes up, comes down, makes a detour, comes back to the forehead, then makes a second detour coming back, and 20 is back here. So I'm going to do that one more time. Gallbladder 1 starts here, comes towards small intestine 19, but a little bit above, goes up, comes down. Think of it a little bit like a helmet, then it comes forward to the forehead, and then it goes back down a little bit closer, because we have our dorsal midline, then we have bladder, and then we have gallbladder. So it's going to come down. Now gallbladder ends on the lateral side of the last toe. Can I borrow your back for a second? Thank you. So we're coming down, we have gallbladder 20 at the back of the ear, then we have 21, which is that one we had trouble with yesterday because the way it was drawn in the book, that gallbladder 21 is where the first thoracic vertebrae meets the scapula. It then actually goes underneath the scapula, so it's not on the body over the shoulders. So it does a bit of a curve under the shoulder blade. Then it does a second curve because you have to hit your 2 alarm points, gallbladder 24 and gallbladder 25. Then it does another curve around the hip, but more of an oval shape. So we're going like this, and then it comes down pant seam. So then we're coming down, we have 34, pant seam to your knee on the lateral side. Then we have 39, which is going to be 3 soon above your lateral malleolus opposite spleen 6. Then we're coming down to 40. Thank you. I'm on the ankle now. 40 on your ankle. And we're aiming for the where the bones join on your fourth toe, your third and fourth. And we're ending at gallbladder 44 at the edge of your fourth toe. What comes after gallbladder?
Liver.
Okay. So liver actually is on the same toe as spleen, but on the lateral side. So you have spleen 1 here, and you have liver 1 here. So we're coming up, we have liver 2, which is our distal point for eye issues. We're coming up to liver 3, which is our source point. And then we kind of skip medial side. So as we're coming up, we have kidney up the back, spleen up the middle, and liver up the front. But once you get up here, they actually cross, which is super confusing. But liver comes up the craniomedial side, and then becomes slightly more medial. We want to stay in front of spleen. So we're coming up. It makes a fun V shape because it actually, you want to hit the end of the point of your ribs, like the lowest point of your ribs. So it makes a bit of a V shape here to come up to here. 1 rib up is going to be liver 13, which is our alarm point for spleen. And then it ends about 2.5 fingers width below your nipple at liver 14, which is our alarm point for liver.